It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me this morning as we continue our discussion about housing here in the Low Country, as we've been doing for the past, going on, 4 years, I think, on this program, WTMA. Talking about real estate, talking about the issues in our market, talking about what you need to know if you're going to buy, sell, or invest in real estate so that you've got some realistic idea of what's going on in our market. You can make some informed decisions. So if at any point in time you'd like to contact me, or thinking about buying, selling, or investing in a home, I invite you to give me a call personally. My cell phone number is 843-345-1273. That's 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. You can learn more about me and my team and who we are and what we do and what we've sold. I've been doing real estate for 10 years now, sold about 1,000 homes, been in the top 1% of agents here in our market since 2009. And this show is simply a platform for me to share my experience with you and help you become more educated in the housing market. So, again, listingsincharleston.com if you want to reach out to me and learn more about me and potentially work together, or call my cell, 843-345-1273. And don't forget that if you're going to sell your home with me, I offer a very unique incentive for all of the listeners on this program, 2.4% commission to sell your house this summer. That's a 20% savings to you in commission. I also have a local lender that will pay 1% of the purchase price, not to exceed $5,000, in closing costs for the buyer for your home, as well as for you when you buy a home. So well over $10,000 in savings. We're trying to help you guys save some money this summer. So listingsincharleston.com or 843-345-1273. Let's get into this show here, guys, because I've got a lot that I want to get through. And what I've decided to do this hour, and remember that we do this Saturdays at 9 and Sundays at 10, so if you miss part of this, you can catch up Sundays at 10, and you can always go to my website to listen to previous versions of the show. But what I want to talk about is selling your house in this market. I'm going to dedicate the entire show to it. So we're going to talk about, understanding what buyers and sellers want, and understanding the way people behave when both searching for a home or to buy and sell, and when they hire an agent, what do they look for in the process, and the agent they hire. We're going to talk about some incentives out there that you need to watch out for if you're going to hire a real estate agent, some of the kind of foot in the door techniques that you need to be leery of, and I'm going to kind of break those down for you. And some agents might not be too happy about that, but I'm going to help you understand what those incentives really mean. And then we're going to talk about pricing, we're going to talk about strategy, and we're going to talk about all those agents out there that, quite frankly, are just going to tell you what you want to hear to get your listing. They're going to overprice your house. They're going to agree with you if you want more money. So we're going to talk through all those issues. So that's coming up here over the next hour on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Program. So let's start first with understanding the behaviors of buyers and sellers. Let's look first at how do buyers look at a home and how do they behave. So let's look at it this way. From 2009 to 2013, we were not as much as a seller's market as we are now. So from 2009 to 2013, buyers had more options. They also had a little bit more time to make a decision. So from 2009 to 2013, it took about 12 weeks on average for a buyer to find a home that they ultimately wanted to buy. But then in 2014, it went down to 10 weeks. 2015, it was only 8 weeks. So obviously in a seller's market, buyers need to make some quicker decisions. Now, what was the first step for a buyer in buying a home? Well, 43% of them went online to look at a house for sale. 15% contacted an agent, and 12% researched the home buying process online. Typically, the buyer looked at between 8 and 10 homes before they bought one, which is why, I tell sellers that, hey, if we go 10 or so showings without an offer, then we really need to take a look at what we're doing to see if we need to make some sort of an adjustment. We need to monitor that feedback. We need to understand why the buyer didn't purchase your home, and was it something that was within our control or not? If they didn't like the layout of your house, there's nothing we can do about that. But if they felt it was overpriced, or if they felt like there were some things that could have been done for for them from a condition standpoint, and you were willing to do some of those things, then perhaps we could have put a deal together. So that's the kind of stuff that we obviously look at when we're selling property and we're monitoring the feedback and gauging the market. But between 8 and 10 homes is what a buyer is going to look at on average before they buy something. Now, here's an interesting stat. 92% of buyers use the internet in some way in their home search process, and over 50% of those buyers are using mobile websites or applications in their home search. So, if you're going to hire a real estate agent to help you sell your house, they better understand not only how to market online, but also understand that the majority of people out there, statistics show, are using some sort of mobile device. So their website has to be mobile friendly. The way in which they're marketing their homes for sale has to be user friendly from a mobile device or a tablet, so on and so forth. And that's just the way things are going. Having said that, there is still a good portion of the population that does not want to download some sort of app to search for real estate. They want their agent to do that for them. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But 92% of people are using the internet to search for real estate. It's where, as a real estate agent, I spend most of my time, energy, and resources because that's where the buyers are. I mean, and we're going to talk about this later too, but I've got $150,000 plus online marketing budget every year to market my properties for sale because it very clearly shows that buyers are online looking at properties. So I want my properties to be exposed in the areas that buyers are looking, and I want them to look good. Now, let me kind of tie that into this next stat. When people are looking online, the top 5 things that buyers want in order, number 1, professional photos. I have talked about this for the past 4 years, ever since WTMA has let me onto this program to start talking about real estate. But there are so many homes out there still that just don't have good photos. They don't look good. They don't look good online. And if you're a buyer and you're searching for a $500,000 house and you can't really gain a sense for the quality of the home or the upgrades within it, and the pictures are all unorganized. You're looking at a kitchen, then a bedroom, then a bathroom, then the backyard, then a bedroom, then the living room. It's all out of whack. You don't know what the heck you're looking at. Pictures are incredibly important. Number 1 is professional photos. Then number 2 is description, having a description that makes sense and not just talking about the bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and all the features inside the home. Describing the lifestyle associated with living in that property. If you live in this house, what are some of the things that you can do around you? How close are you to the beach? How close are you to downtown Charleston? If you work at Boeing, how far away is that? Catering to the particular buyer that might purchase that home. Number 3, of course, is some sort of video tour, virtual tour. Number 4 is neighborhood info. And then number 5 is recent sales. They want to have an idea of what your home is actually worth compared to what other people have been willing to pay for similar properties. So let's switch gears and let's talk a little bit about incentives. People always ask, should I offer some sort of agent bonus to entice agents to show my property, or, should we do something for the buyer? 64% of all closings last year, according to the National Association of Realtors, had no incentive whatsoever. Next in line was a home warranty at 19%. 18% of properties had closing costs as an incentive, and only 6% had a remodeling credit. So it begs the question, is offering some sort of incentive of value to the buyer? I think in some instances, absolutely. We look at these price ranges. Let's use the $150,000 to $250,000 price range where, and I've sold a ton of those homes this year. We've already ratified 100 contracts this year on my team. In that price range, the overwhelming majority of buyers, when they make an offer on those homes, are going to ask you to pay their closing costs or a portion of their closing costs. And most of the time, sellers agree. We're either going to negotiate on the price or we're going to negotiate on the terms. Most sellers in this market don't necessarily have to give away the farm on the price and then also pay closing costs. You might be able to get full price and then agree to pay $5,000 toward closing costs, and then you call it a done deal. Because for the buyer, the payment doesn't really change all that much. And if they can cover the closing costs, meaning that they don't have the requirement for additional cash to put into the deal, aside from their down payment, then they're happy. They don't care about spending an extra $20 a month for the increased payment so that the seller can get the price that they want. But I think that in those price ranges, again, in certain price ranges in certain areas, if you offer closing costs as an incentive up front, then really all you're doing is just acknowledging that A buyer is going to ask for closing costs to be paid by the seller anyways, and we're using it as a marketing tactic. So in those events, I do think it works. It does work. So the homes they bought, 43% they found on the internet, 33% they found through a real estate agent, and 9% they found through a yard sign. 88% of people used a real estate agent. Now, how did they find their realtor? 40% was through a referral, 12% was through using their previous agent, and only 10% were found through some sort of website where they did some sort of search for an agent and found the agent that way. So here's an interesting stat, and I've told you this stat before for those of you that have listened to this program. 88% of people that purchased a home said they would use their same agent again, but only 12% actually did. Isn't that interesting? Why is that? Service after the sale. Most people just assume that real estate agents are really good for negotiating a contract, getting a home closed, and that's it. In reality, we've got a pretty good idea of not only what's going on in this market and can keep you up to date with what the value of your home is, but let's say that your AC has an issue. Well, guess we have all kinds of people that we work with on a daily basis to repair our properties, to help people get through home inspection reports. So we have a plethora of handyman, tradesmen, anything that you need for your home. A good real estate agent should have a good contact for you. In addition to that, we look at things like taxes. Sometimes tax appraisals are out of whack, and we'll help that homeowner by saying, hey, if you're paying more than you should in taxes, let's take a look at your tax appraisal and let's see if that's accurate. If it's not, then let's submit something to the county to try and get your taxes reduced. Who doesn't like paying less in taxes? I know I sure as heck do. So those are some of the things and some of the ways in which people behave online when they're choosing a real estate agent. When you look at the agent that they choose to represent their property, they're really finding people in one of three ways. Number one is a referral, which was 40% of the time. Number two is marketing in some form. Let's say that agent puts out a flyer or a letter or a magazine ad, a yard sign. They call you up out of the blue. You see a billboard, whatever the case might be. You see someone as being visible in the marketplace, and you just assume that they're successful, so you set an appointment to interview them. But the third way that people can potentially get your business is through listing incentives, which is something I want to talk about next. I'm going to dedicate a good portion of time to it so you guys really understand what these incentives can actually mean. I'm going to pull back the curtain, and I'm going to show you what that means. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. And again, Saturdays at 9, Sundays at 10 is this program. Call me personally if you want to talk about real estate. My number is 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273. Or go to listingsincharleston.com. Don't forget about that 2.4% listing commission to sell your home with me this summer. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. We'll be right back.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA. Expert news and views on the Low Country real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, continuing our discussion about real estate here in the Charleston area. I want to jump into what we just left previous segment talking about, which is listing incentives, ways in which agents can potentially entice you to sell your home through some sort of incentive. And here's what I want to say first and foremost. If a real estate agent tells you something that sounds too good to be true, then it probably is too good to be true. And I'm going to tell you why. And let's look at some of these incentives that some of these agents can offer. And by the way, my incentive is very simple. You list your home with me, you're only going to pay 2.4% listing commission. That's it. There's no other tricks, no gimmicks. That's it. You're just going to save money. 20% is what you're going to save in listing commission. Then on top of that, if you work with my preferred lender, let's say you're going to sell your house. My preferred lender, if the buyer chooses to work with them, will pay up to $5,000 of their closing costs or 1% of the purchase price to buy your home. And then if you're going to buy another home, that lender will pay that same amount when you buy a home. So we're talking about in excess of $10,000 in savings to work with my team. And that's something that we've put together. We've been working for a long time on it. We want to save you guys some money. So if you want to sell your house, give me a call, 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. You can learn more about me and who I am and what I do and what I've sold and all that fun stuff, listingsincharleston.com. But let's jump into these incentives. I'm going to do something that I don't think any other agents in this market's done on the radio, and I'm going to explain to you what these guarantees actually mean. So the first one is a very popular one. It's not just used here in this market. It's used by agents all over the country. Your home sold guaranteed, or I'll buy it. What does that mean? Well, here's the way it works. They're going to advertise something like, hey, I'll sell your home in 90 days or I'll buy it myself, which sounds great. They must be so confident in their sales abilities that they can afford to buy your home if they don't sell it, right? So you happily set the appointment with that realtor and they go over the fine print in the contract. And here's what it's going to say. It's going to say one of several things. And this depends on the market and the agent that has created this marketing incentive. So number one, it's either going to have some sort of overinflated commission. Could be somewhere between 9 and 12%, and I have seen 9% listings in our market, which is crazy. The standard is 6, by the way. And there are plenty of agents out there that are charging more. I'm charging less. But after all, they're the ones that are taking the risk if they have to buy your home if it doesn't sell, so they want a higher commission to compensate for that. Well, obviously, most sellers out there don't want to pay more than what's fair. Number two, the listing price can be as much as 10 to 15% below fair market value, which is essentially going to guarantee that it's going to sell without them having to buy it. The third thing you could see is that the purchase price is going to be selected by the real estate agent, not you. No real estate agent in their right mind is going to pay fair market value for your house, bottom line. There's absolutely no way that real estate agents out there would say, hey, if your home doesn't sell, I'll buy it, and they're going to pay what your home is worth. Okay, so that in and of itself should be something that you guys should understand from the onset. That it's not like if your home is worth $500,000 and that agent doesn't sell it in 90 days, they're not going to pay you $500,000 for it. It's just not going to happen. They're going to have to buy your home and then turn around and sell it, pay out commission and closing costs. They'd end up losing a ton of money on that deal. So do you really think an agent's going to buy your home and intentionally lose a bunch of money? Absolutely not. Number 4 is that they're going to set some sort of series of price reductions on your house. Okay, so here's an example. Let's say that you list your home for sale for $400,000. And the addendum to the listing contract is going to state that you're going to agree to a series of price reductions of $10,000 off the listing price every 2 to 3 weeks for the duration of the agreement. Now, if you don't agree to those price reductions, it waives the listing agent's obligation to buy your home, by the way, and that's going to say that in that contract. If the home doesn't sell at the end of the agreement, they'll buy it. And that might be true. Of course, the house will now be will be listed for an extremely lower price, way under fair market value. So in that case, the agent could come out on top because they're buying your home for significantly less than what it's worth. I mean, if I had the ability to buy my listings for 20 to 25% off fair market value, I'd do it every time too, if I could afford it, but I don't. And that's not realistic. But the number 5 thing that you need to watch out for in this your home sold guaranteed or I'll buy it incentive is that you may also find that the agent may assign, quote unquote, the contract to an insurance company or local group of investors who will buy it from you for a large percentage below fair market value. So it might be agreed upon when you're going through that contract that, hey, if this home doesn't sell, then this is the house that I'm willing to buy it for, or that this insurance company or group of investors is going to buy it for. And you're not going to learn that until you sit down and talk with that real estate agent and they've had an opportunity to sell you on everything they do to market their homes and all the success they've had and so on and so forth. So at the end of all of this, since the thought of listing your house for such a high commission and or at a series of significant price reductions sounds kind of like a scam in some ways, and the listing agent doesn't want to lose your business, they're just going to say, well, hey, we also just do the standard 6% listing commission, guys. We don't have to do this incentive. And you'll be so overjoyed at the thought of paying a higher commission or not having to pay a higher commission and agreeing to a bunch of aggressive price reductions or selling your home for a lot less than what it's worth that you'll just happily agree to the 6% commission. Thus, the foot in the door technique. You guys understand how that works? Okay. I don't think anybody has ever explained that in radio in Charleston. I could be wrong, but I've never heard it. But that's what's going on with that incentive. The second incentive you guys need to look at is this idea of, hey, I'll sell your home in 30 days or less so you won't pay me a commission at all. Or I'll sell your home for X and you don't have to pay me commission at all if that doesn't happen. So it's very similar to the strategy above. The one we just discussed. You're going to find inflated commission rates, unreasonable price reductions, requirements to pay for things like an inspection ahead of time. You're going to have to pay for an appraisal more than likely, and you're going to have to likely list it at a certain percentage below that appraisal amount. So the best thing you can do with all of these sort of incentives is just to work with a real estate agent that's committed to getting you the most money possible for your house in the least amount of time and with the least amount of stress. Sometimes these incentives do work for these real estate agents, and sometimes they do sell a home in 30 days or less. But most of the time, sellers don't actually need to sell their home in 30 days or less at all costs with significant price reductions every 7 to 10 days. That's just not the way most people approach the home selling process. What most people want is to sell their home for what it's worth in a reasonable amount of time. They don't want to be lied to. They don't want this idea that the agent's going to tell them that their home can sell for more when really it won't. People want the truth. And we're finding this more and more in this market. One of the big issues that we have in this market right now is that inventory is scarce. There are less listings now than there were the year before, or the year before, or the year before. I mean, inventory is at a significant low over the past several years. And we have more agents in our market. So people are fighting tooth and nail just to maintain market share. I mean, our business has grown, but it's grown because we're doing the right thing. We're successful. We're accomplishing our clients' goals. And we're telling them the truth, and we're working hard for people. But there are agents out there that need listings. They only have 2 or 3. They need 6. They need 10, whatever they think they need. So they're going to go out there, and they're going to tell sellers, oh, sure, we can try that price. We'll see what happens. The problem is those agents aren't spending enough time at the listing appointment discussing the market. There's not enough education in that meeting to determine whether or not you want to work with that agent. It's all just, here's who I am. Here's how many homes my team and I have sold. Here's what our company is all about. Here's all the marketing we do. Blah, 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 blah. Don't get me wrong. That stuff is important. But in my opinion, that's a very juvenile way of approaching selling somebody's home. It's just rifling off a list of all these benefits associated with listing with that particular agent in that particular company. Unless, and I believe this firmly, unless a real estate agent can reciprocate perfectly to the seller why they want to sell, what they're willing to do to sell, and what they're willing to not do to sell, then in my opinion, that agent has failed at the basic necessity of their job. Their job is to understand why you're moving and to help you accomplish that goal. Obviously, the agent that you hire needs to be experienced. They need to know how to market their butts off to get the home sold. But all these agents out there that are just going in and shotgun blasting people with a bunch of stats and, Zillow and blah, 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 they're missing the point. So what I want to talk about when I come back is the idea of agents competing for listings in such an aggressive way that they are intentionally overpricing property or shooting high on the price that they suggest to you just to get your business, with the hope that at some point later down the road, you're going to reduce your price because you're going to become even more motivated to sell than you might perhaps be right now. So that's what I'm going to talk about when I come back. All that and more as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. And don't forget, if you want to sell your home this summer, I'm offering just a 2.4% listing commission. You get to decide how much you pay the buyer agent, 2.5%, 3%, whatever the case might be. But you're going to save 20% in listing commission by working with my team. So if you want to contact me about that, give me a call, 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. We'll be right back.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
1250 WTMA.
Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, and thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. If you're just joining us, we're going to continue our discussion about selling your home in this market right now. We've already talked about quite a bit this morning. We've talked about the idea of these incentives that real estate agents are using to try and entice you to list your home with them. And I've kind of, well, I did. I peeled back the curtain on what those incentives actually mean and what are you potentially going to have to agree to in order to sell your home with those kinds of incentives, whether it be, if your home doesn't sell, I'll buy it, or if your home doesn't sell in 30 days, you don't have to pay me a commission. What does that really mean to you? So we just talked about that. If you need more information on that, or if you'd like to talk about your interest in selling a home, remember, my incentive is very simple. There's no way around it. It's 2.4% listing commission, 20% savings to list your home with me. So no gimmicks, no tricks. Here to just help you save some money. If that's something that I can help you do, if you're thinking about selling your house, you might as well save some money in the process. Give me a call, 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273. Or go to listingsincharleston.com and you can learn more about me and my marketing and what I do and what I've sold. Again, I've been doing this for 10 years, sold about 1,000 homes, done about $500 million in real estate volume. So been around the block, and I'm a young guy. I'm approaching 32, so it's not like I've been doing this for 30 years. I got into this business when I was 21, and I got in at a time when our market was very, very challenging, not for a 21-year-old, but for everybody. And so I had to very quickly figure out how I was going to be of value to my clients, and I did that by becoming an expert in online marketing. Of course, I was doing a lot of short sales and foreclosures and all that fun stuff. But now, because we're in such a good seller's market, and because my business has grown, we're doing a good job for people, and I'm very proud of that, and I can say that very confidently. So if you want to sell your home, give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. So let me go back to what we kind of left the last segment with, which is this idea that because there's this limited amount of inventory out there, and because there are more agents out there, that agents are doing what they need to do for their own business, or at least that's what they say to themselves, to get listings. And they're doing that by telling sellers a price that's going to excite them, whether or not it might be true, whether or not it's a price that might actually sell the home. So let me kind of walk through this scenario with you, because I'm finding this more and more. And I have taken a very firm approach in my business in that I tell people the truth about pricing. I spend a good portion of my time with my potential clients discussing the market, educating them, telling them what to expect, the trends that are going on our market, and ultimately what I think their home is going to sell for based on a very intense, at least on my end, a very intense review of comps, looking at condition, upgrades, location, what homes are selling for, what percentage off the asking price are they selling for, what incentives are they offering, all that stuff. And we go through all of that. Some agents just come in and they print off a list of what's sold and they say, hey, yeah, the average price per square foot's right around this, and you got a pretty nice home, so let's list for more. It's totally a shotgun blast approach to pricing a property. But here, let me kind of paint this scenario for you, because this is happening more and more. And we're having to walk away from some listings because I am not going to overprice a home by 10, 15, 20% just to get a listing. I'm not going to do it. Cost me way too much money, way too much time to, number one, take a listing that is way overpriced that a buyer's not going to buy it for. But number two, there is no way that I would ever feel good about running a business in which I was telling people something just to get them to sign a contract purely out of my own greed for a commission. That's just not going to happen. So let me tell you what's going on in this industry right now. And this isn't happening all the time. And the caveat, the disclaimer here is that there are still plenty of fantastic agents out there that you can trust that are doing a great job for you. But there are agents out there that are also doing what needs to be done to get some listings and get some signs in the yard. So here's the scenario. You decide that you want to sell your house, and you've got a pretty good idea of what your home is worth. You look on Zillow every once in a while, you see what people are asking for their home, and there are 3 different real estate agents that come to mind that market in your neighborhood or that you know of. And so you decide to interview those 3 agents. And, every realtor walks through and they walk through the house, they get the tour, they talk about their marketing plan, and then they go over something called a CMA, a competitive market analysis. They're going to look at the value of each home that's sold comparable to yours, and they're going to arrive at a price that they think you should list for. And then if they're doing a really good job, they should also tell you what they think it will sell for and what amount of time it will sell for. What's the difference between the list price and the sales price? And is there any sort of expectation among the buyer that you're going to offer some sort of incentive to them, closing costs, home warranty, whatever the case might be? So let's say that of those 3 agents that you interview, the first 2 walk through, and let's say that they say one agent says your home is worth $250, and then the other agent says your home is worth $255. And those numbers are disappointing to you. You thought that your home was worth more money. Again, you've been looking at Zillow. You've seen what other people are asking for their house. So you think your home is worth more. You're convinced of that. Sidebar. Just because someone sees listings that are asking a certain price doesn't mean that they're also following that data all the way through to closing to see what it actually sold for and whether or not there were any repairs or incentives associated with it that even further reduce the price. The numbers that we look at real estate agents take all of that into account, not just what someone's asking. And sometimes that does skew a seller's perception of value. They look at the list price, but they don't go back and they don't look at the sales price. They don't look at the incentives. Some of those websites don't even record things like incentives. In fact, most don't. So you interview those first 2 agents and you think that their prices are low. And it could be that those 2 agents are just telling you the truth. They're telling you exactly what your home is worth based on their opinion of value. Remember, that is a subjective number. You could get 3 separate appraisals for your house. You could hire a professional appraiser, and all 3 of those values could be different. It's an opinion of value. There's nothing scientific or mathematical about it. No one's going to tell you exactly what your home is worth because it's simply a function of what a buyer is willing to pay for your house. Well, anyways, you're a seller and you think you know what your home is worth and you're frustrated with the first 2 values. So the third agent comes through and you say, look, we've been through the comps. We were thinking our home was worth $269, but we've had agents say it was worth $250. What do you think? Well, of course, that third agent smells the blood in the water and they say, you know what? And they might even have the comps with them that support $250. But they say, in this market, it's a hot market. It's a seller's market. We might as well ask for it. And you never know what a buyer's willing to pay in this market. And so as a seller, you're relieved to hear that, finally, a real estate agent's going to listen to me. They're going to help me sell my home for the most amount of money possible by agreeing to my price. When in reality, what's happened is that agent has done what we call in the industry buying your listing. They are telling you what you want to hear so that you sign on the dotted line with the hope that at some point in the future, you're going to just reduce your price down to what it's actually worth. Or they're hoping that your motivation to sell increases. And then, let's say you're in a pinch to sell. We got to get it sold now. And then they drop it down even further than what you could have potentially gotten it for 3 months ago. So why do some of these agents do that? Why do they intentionally overprice a property? Well, number one, it could be that the agent just cares more about having a sign in the yard and the marketing opportunity associated with your house than they do in actually selling it. Does every listing agent want to sell their listing? Of course. But if you think about it this way, would it be better to at least have a sign in the yard and be able to market the property online so that even if it doesn't sell, then at least I'll find some buyers? That's what agents are thinking when they overprice your home. Hey, I might not sell it, but at least I can potentially replace this sale with some buyers. Another reason might be that, hey, they just want as many signs in the yard in that area as possible so that they become visible, which could have been a reason why, you called that agent in the first place. Hey, we see you have some yard signs around and obviously you're selling homes in this neighborhood. Well, selling is the key word there. Yeah, they're listed, but they're not selling. So maybe they just want some more signs in the yard to try and create more marketing opportunities for themselves and hopefully find a seller that's willing to sell it for what it's worth right now. You never know. Could be that they're just interested in, or really it could be this. It could just be, quite frankly, that they are not confident enough in their own pricing strategy to actually know what that real price should be. We have thousands of real estate agents in our market. To be in the top 10% of agents in our market, you've got to sell a little over a dozen homes a year. I haven't looked at that number recently, but it's somewhere around like 15, 16 homes a year, last time I checked. So that means that 90% of our realtor population is selling at less than one home a month. You can hardly feed your family for less than one home a month in this industry unless you're selling $1 million homes. And that is not the standard agent that's, only selling 10 homes a year and selling $10 million worth of real estate. That's just not normal. So there's a lot of agents out there that are starving for business still, even though it's a great market, they're looking for business and they're going to do what it takes to get a listing. And in many instances, that means telling you what you want to hear so that you feel good and warm and fuzzy about the relationship. And then at some point when it doesn't sell, then they're going to hit you up for a price reduction. It could be, quite frankly, that agent just doesn't want to have a conflict with you at the listing appointment. So they're just going to do everything they can to seem like they're agreeable and that they make you feel comfortable, even though they probably know that they're taking an overpriced listing. They're like, you know what? They were interviewing 2 other agents. I don't want to get into it with them. We'll just take their price for now, and then hopefully we'll reduce the price later. It could be, however, and this is a caveat, that in this market, your overpriced listing might actually sell. I know that goes against the grain for everything that I was just talking about, but in this market, I have had several, and I'm going to be completely honest, there have been several properties this year that I've intentionally overpriced because I knew there was a lack of inventory in that market, and because I follow the trends. I'm a numbers guy. I know what's going on in our market. And I saw an opportunity, and our sellers took advantage of that opportunity. We got more money for their home than they thought they would, and frankly, more than I thought we would. But a buyer was willing to pay for it, and we got the job done. So it could be that the agent really does have your best interest in heart and is saying, hey, let's give this a shot. It just might work. But for those agents out there that are not being educational at the time of the meeting, when it comes time to discuss the comps and the market and the trends, that should be a red flag for you. If they're not sitting down with you and going through with a fine-tooth comb what is selling and what it's selling for, and it's this shoot from the hip approach to pricing, that's dangerous, guys. I'm telling you right now, you could potentially lose the opportunity or put a cloud over your property by overpricing it and then 60, 90 days later having to chase the price to try and find the buyer for your home. Most of the people that look at your listing online when it first lists are ready, willing, and able to buy. If they look at your home and they say, well, they're overpriced, they're just going to forget about you and they're going to go and they're going to buy something else. So at some point, you lose out on those ready, willing, and able buyers. Everybody's seen it. They've seen it online. They choose to come and look at your house or not. They choose to make an offer or not. If you're not positioned to sell and those buyers go by the wayside, then you're left with finding new buyers that are entering the market, or you're left with finding those buyers that looked at it but ignored it because of some sort of issue with value or condition or layout or whatever the case might be. And then you have to entice them to come back to you through a price reduction. It's not a good position to be in, even in the seller's market. So I have a few more things that I want to discuss here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. I'm going to talk about some questions you need to ask if you're going to interview a real estate agent. So that'll be our last segment here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Again, if you have questions for me, you want to buy or sell a home, feel free to give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Don't forget the 2.4% listing commission to sell your home, saving you 20% off the bat to list your home and sell it with me. I also have that preferred lender that will pay up to $10,000 in closing costs for the buyer for your home and then for you when you buy a home. So contact me about those details because that's some serious change that we're saving you guys here. Brian Beatty, listingsincharleston.com is the website. 843-345-1273 is my cell. Stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. As we wrap up the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show, just a few minutes left. I was a little long-winded on my last segment, but I really wanted to help you guys understand what's going on in our market with all these listing agents out there that are really telling you what you want to hear with regard to price just to get your listing. It's a problem. It's something that in some areas is delaying home sales. It's causing overpriced listings to hit the market. And as I've said before, overpriced listings can sometimes create more overpriced listings and can actually harm a particular segment or sub-segment of our market. So just watch out for that. What I want to do really quickly, I've got like 6 minutes maybe. to get through this list is tell you some of the things that you need to know if you're going to interview a listing agent to sell your house. And if that's something I can help you with, again, 2.4% commission to sell your home with me. That's a 20% savings to sell your home. My cell phone number is 843-345-1273 if you want more info on that. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. But remember, 2.4% commission on the listing side to sell your home. So let's get into this really quickly. I'm going to shoot it off like rapid fire here. What you need to know if you're going to list your home. And I was thinking about it this way. If I had to sell a house in a market where I was not a realtor, let's say I had a home in Atlanta or Charlotte or anywhere else other than Charleston, what would be my requirements in a listing agent to represent me to sell my home? Well, first of all, someone that's straightforward, honest, trustworthy, someone with integrity. I need to be able to trust this person to have my best interests in mind when they represent me and talk about my house to the general public. Number 2, it has to be a full-time, full-service real estate agent with support staff in place, preferably, so that they can focus on selling my home. If they have a team and it's run properly, that's even better for me. Number 3, they need to be selling homes. I'm not talking about just a few a year, multiple homes a month. They need to have a proven track record, in my opinion, of not just selling homes, but selling them for close to the asking price and in a relatively short amount of time. I want to know how good that agent is at pricing properties. Give me a realistic view of what this home is worth. Don't just tell me what I want to hear, like we were just talking about. How close are your homes selling compared to what they were listed for? My percentage is 98%. It's because I tell people the truth, and I try my very, very best not to engage in taking overpriced listings. Every once in a while, I'll consider it if I think the market can support it, but I'm not here to tell people what they want to hear when it comes to price. They're relying on me to be a professional and to do my job and to tell them the truth. And that's what I would expect if I were selling my home in another area. And that's what you should expect and demand in the real estate agent that you hire. Number 4 would be that they have to be a marketing expert. I have worked very hard over the past decade to really become an expert in online marketing and marketing in general. In 2006, I was Entrepreneur of the Year at the College of Charleston for creating a real estate-based online marketing company. And that really kind of opened my eyes to real estate marketing in general. I come from a family that's been doing real estate for 60 years. But that helped me kind of springboard into real estate sales. And so I have to work with somebody that understands how to market properties. And I'm not just talking about, taking professional photos and putting it on Zillow. They need to understand how to modify properties in the back end of websites. They need to understand how to find buyers for my house, not just sit back and wait for other agents to show my property. Number 5 is someone that can effectively price a home. We kind of just talked about this, but somebody that really understands the market and the trends within it and the neighborhood comps. And they're going to look at things like I look at them, quite frankly, which is by adjusting the value for condition and location and upgrades and trends within the marketplace. I need a very detailed understanding of what my home is going to sell for. And if they can't give that to me, if they really can't deliver a presentation that revolves around their knowledge of the market and what my home is worth in this market right now, then I'm probably not going to hire that agent. I need an agent that really understands their business. And if they're not going to prove that to me at the time we have a listing presentation and they're just going to focus on marketing, that's not the right agent for me. That's just me personally, but I know too much about this market and too much about what real estate agents say to people to try and get their business to fall for that trap. Number 6, and it's kind of tough to gauge this at times, I think, if you're a seller, but somebody that's passionate about their job and about helping people and that has a good reputation in the community. Number 7 is someone that respects my time and that respects their own time and that runs an efficient business. If I call you and I need to speak with you about something, I expect a call back from you that same day. Not the next business day, not 2-3 days down the road. If I send you an email, I want a pretty quick response. I'm not here to be a pain in the you-know-what, but, I look at my own business. If I were the kind of agent that didn't answer my phone or didn't respond to emails or texts from interested buyers about my properties, I would not be nearly as successful as a team as we are now. But people want instant contact. That's just the way our generation is, or not generation, but it's just getting with the times. People want instant gratification and they want communication. And so that's kind of the last thing is communication. I want to be in touch with them Every week, I want to know what's going on. I want to know what kind of feedback we're getting from showings. I want to know if we're still priced right, what's been going on from a marketing perspective, what's working, what's not working, all of that. And that's something that should happen every week, in my opinion. So, and that's something that I do on my team, and I think it works really well. So those are the things that I would look for if I'm a seller and I'm going to sell my home. I hope that that was helpful for you. I'm sorry that I had to run through that really quickly, but if I can help you sell your home this summer, give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. Remember, 2.4% commission to sell your home. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Have a great weekend.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9. And